Today we're introducing a new segment to Charlie Rose, which will only be available online. It is called Peer Review. Here we ask colleagues and friends of our guests what they would like to see discussed. Today we have three peers of Brad Pitt. Our first question is from a good friend of his in Los Angeles, Frank Gehry.
Your high-profile attention to the topic of architecture has been exemplary and very welcome by my profession. I think we are all curious what your fantasies are about where you go with this. If you recall, I offered you a job in the model department a few years ago at above minimum wage, and I haven't seen you.
Frank Gehry.
I love him. I just love him.
What's the question? What's the answer to his question?
What's my fantasy of where this would go? And you know, throughout the history of architecture, there's been specific junctures where the movement has changed, and that man right there was a part of the last one, and that was he completely eliminated the idea of the box. He turned it on its head. And he blew it up, and to be a part of such a shift of, in Frank's case, of this marriage of technology and design, and how far you could go with the new technology and new engineering is and has been a pinnacle moment. He's a hero for me. So me, fantasy-wise, yeah, come up with the next change.
And he offered you a job?
I think he was being very kind and slumming a bit.
Next, a longtime business partner, one of the most powerful men in Hollywood, Brad Grey, the CEO of Paramount Pictures.
I guess I have one question for Brad. I think everybody knows, at this point, the artistry of Brad's work as an actor and what that's evolved into. But I wonder if people would be interested in hearing a bit about his philosophy of life and how he chooses to live in the arena, which is how he and I spend most of our time when we're talking. That's the area that we talk about, and it's worth sharing with the audience.
Huh. Well, philosophy of life. I hate to go down that road, but I would certainly discuss how, I guess, the negotiation of fame, I think, what he was asking, and still maintain some career course. And my answer to that would be what has become true for me after all these years is that I am my own judge. I can only be my own judge, and to follow those things that interest me. There's just a bombardment of people's wants and things that are coming at you, and ideas and what you should be doing, and it's you really got to remove yourself or Teflon yourself from that cacophony and focus on the things that you want to investigate, and if it's true for you, I know it's going to be true for others, and just keep your head low when walking through the storm.
Our final peer comes all the way from Portland, Oregon. He is the author of Fight Club, Mr. Chuck Palahniuk.
New Year's Eve, 1999. Somebody told me that you rented a Mexican resort, filled it with your friends, and at midnight you bribed the government to cut the power and the phone lines, and then you had troops sent in to arrest one of your friends on drug charges. What's with the practical jokes, and would you fill in the blanks on that story?
This is a true story. This was concocted by my friend and cohort, Mr. David Fincher. And you remember at the time of the millennium, there was this big scare, Y2K, and what was going to happen, and people weren't going to go on trips even because afraid of what was going to happen. And we flew down to this private resort down like 2 hours outside Puerto Vallarta in Mexico on the coast, and literally nothing else around, pitch black. And we did exactly that. We had set him up, and they actually drove off with him. They put him in handcuffs. It was one of my best performances, by the way, ever.
No camera
ever.
around.
Yeah, fighting for the guy's life. You know you can't take him screaming.
Yeah.
It was a friend of ours who always playing practical jokes. His name is Mark Gervitz. And they threw him in the back of the wagon, cuffed.
Yeah.
His fiance is freaking out in tears.
And what are you doing?
I mean, it really
insane?
got out of hand, and they're driving off with him into the pitch blackness. And you know, he's surrounded by guys with AKs. Why? Man, I need a psychologist to tell me why, but it sure was good fun.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Charlie.
Pleasure.
Yeah, great.